welcome to another edition of Ljubljana Talks that we are recording here live at IBTM 2024. And it's another day of IBTM, another day of great meetings that are coming up. And we are starting off with Sven Bossu from the AIPC. So, Sven, thank you very much for coming to Ljubljana Talks. And let's just start at the beginning.
Good.
So, you spent most of your career in the financial sector, right?
Right.
And you were working for SWIFT, which is also kind of an association. Is it an association?
That's correct, yeah.
And could you tell us more about how your career took kind of this turn to get to where you are today?
Yeah, true. So in the first 15 years in financial services, I was mainly involved in transformation management, so reorganizing departments, etc. And that was really helpful when I joined AIPC in May 2020, because we were in the midst of the Corona crisis. Yeah. And so members were being shut down, and we had to reconfigure the entire association, do it very differently. So that is skill set which has definitely helped. And the other one was the last 5 years at SWIFT, I ran Cybos, which is their big flagship event, 8,000 bankers for 4 days. Wow. And that gave me the client insight, which is really helpful when I discuss with the members now.
And what sets apart your association from other associations of our industry?
We're a really small niche association, so it's only about convention centers. Mm-hmm. So when we have our annual conference, it's only the CEO of convention centers. They come there, it's a group of friends, and they share knowledge, etc. But that's our focus. Our unique selling proposal is only for convention centers, but the value proposal is changing. We now have a cybersecurity task force. Mm-hmm. We have a sustainability working group. We have a talent program, because our members have really big problems in attracting and retaining talent. So yeah, we had to change a little bit what we do.
Mm-hmm. We still believe that convention centers are catalyst of the development of destination. Yeah. Is that still true, or it's changing?
No, it's still true. Yeah. But what you see is that convention centers need to be a bit different as well. They used to be the white elephant in the city, like the big building, and you wouldn't go there. And now there's more and more engagement with the community, which is needed, because the local community needs to know what is happening, and then they better support what is happening. And for example, I used to work at Astro for a short time. That's a medical association fighting cancer. But if the population knows there's a big congress there, but the purpose is that, then you get local support.
What would you say were in the past couple of years, we've seen a lot of things happening. COVID, of course, changed our industry profoundly. Yep. We've seen digital meetings come up, hybrid meetings. What would you say are the biggest challenges that the convention centers are facing at the moment? And what would be the big impacts that are kind of pushing the changes of development?
Yeah, I think the big three things I see coming up is one, sustainability. We have an upcoming generation, they still want to come to events, but there are certain values which need to be respected. That includes sustainability, but that is not limited, and that's a mistake we sometimes make, it's not limited to the green aspect. Sustainability is green, but it's also the social part, it's also the economic part. And so you really need to look at all three. So that's one. The second one is exclusivity. More and more we have very different and varied types of communities we need to serve. And all of those people need to be safe and welcome in our convention centers. And that's for a part, the physical part. So if you are disabled, you need to be able to move around. But also, sometimes you're in trade show like this one, but you want to have a moment for yourself, a bit of quietness. And so the design of convention centers needs to be built that people can step out and step in again. And the third one is individual experiences. Everybody wants to have its own personal track these days. And once again, your building needs to be designed to be able to do that.
If you look at the development, there's a lot of development of convention centers. Yeah, there's also a lot of rebuild of existing convention centers. What would you say that, from the view of your members, what are those kind of innovative elements that you see as a kind of, really different to what it used to be?
Yeah, so what we used to have is, remember those meeting rooms without daylight? And you had tiered chairs and you would sit there for 8 hours? That's done. So now it's a lot about daylight. It's a lot about different seating elements. So you have beanbags, you have high-end tables. It's a mix of everything. And once again, it's in function of what you want. But the biggest challenge that our convention centers have is flexibility. People do not want to sit in a big room for an entire day. So you need to be able to switch from one setting to another setting during lunch break. And that's operationally a challenge. But if you can make it happen, like the Budapest, the Hong Expo, they managed to do an entire auditorium from theater into flat surface in 35 minutes.
I saw that. No, I saw that.
That is
amazing.
impressive.
It's
Yeah.
impressive, yeah, definitely. But we would like to say event organizers wants to have living rooms instead of boring rooms, you know.
That's true.
So how do you see this situation? How your members are reacting on that? Because you are right. It's not just about the daylight. We must change the way how the convention centers look. So, is it true, or some of the members? Can you share some examples?
It's true. And sometimes it's big things, big renovations. Sometimes it's small things, like for example Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
They have created within their convention center little areas where people can sit down and network in a different way. And so those little elements reflect Montreal. So you would have a little ski hut.
Mm-hmm.
You would be able to do a virtual biking tour.
Top.
You would have a hangout where you can actually relax. And it's very funky elements. But to be honest, those were lost corners in the convention centers. They're being repurposed, and now they're very successful, and they actually won an innovation award for it.
Top, amazing. Another question I want to ask is about sustainability, of course. We know because we measure the good footprint of our events, that energy is really a big issue, and you're part of a solution, I would say. The biggest issue is, of course, mobility of participants, but on the second place always comes energy. So how your members are working on that? I know some examples, but can you share this? Because this is really important. You are part of a solution, in my personal opinion.
And
if we can solve this puzzle, then of course the rest is not so difficult, I would say.
I agree. And I think the venues are working really hard on that for sustainability purposes. That's one, but also because the energy prices are very volatile. And CEOs don't want volatility, they want stability. So more and more you see investment in solar panels. So, for example, the Prague Convention Centers, they invest in solar panels to reduce their energy cost by 30%. And it's perfectly stable. They produce their own energy. So that's a big one. The Bella Center in Copenhagen, they're special because they're both a hotel and a venue. So they focus on, they generate their own energy via solar panels, but they also look at reducing energy, like LED lighting, like being more clever at air conditioning. And so they have a combination of producing about 30% of energy themselves and reducing energy consumption by 20%. So, and it's that combination.
That's really a lot, I would say. It's a game changer.
And it's
a big game
savings.
changer.
It's big, really.
And there's another, of course, elephant in the room. You know, it's like one would be sustainability, which I think you are tackling, and I think the examples you've given are really good. I think there's quite a few convention centers that have really been innovative in solving the problem, heating problem, energy problems. How do you see the AI stepping into this game? Because it's not just a buzzword. There is a lot of things happening.
It's big, and AI can be used for a lot of things in convention centers. It can be used for intelligent marketing, but it also can be used for predictive maintenance of the building, which is big, because if you do that, it's far more efficient, and once again, the resources are used far more cost effectively. So, but I think the biggest challenge that a convention center has for AI is defining the problem which it will fix. And that's a thinking exercise that the venues need to do. What's my problem? Is it maintenance? Is it my sales staff is wasting time filling out paperwork? Is it my finance people, they're doing invoices, but they could be doing something else? And once you have defined the problem to fix, then you find the solution. What we see quite a lot, and that's not only with convention centers, is that people are so impressed with the bling tools that they try to find something to use for that tool, but that's not how it should work. It should be, what's the problem? And then you use AI. But for me, AI can be extremely powerful to increase the value convention centers deliver to their audiences.
It's a very good point. I would like to challenge you a little bit. We are here at IBTM, and IBTM is a trade show, let's call it one of the bigger ones. How do you see the future of trade shows as such?
I think that there's still a big future for trade shows. I think they will be shorter. And I think what you'll see happening going forward is that, for example, if I come to a trade show, AI will be used to say, okay, that is Sven, that is the persona he is, this is a track we propose for you, and that makes it really personal. It's no longer, okay, I arrive here in this trade show and figure it out. It will be far more, we know you, this is what we believe you want to do, this is the agenda we propose. And that's going to be powerful and also far more efficient for me to do that type of thing.
A provocative question. Is Europe still number one when we are talking about convention centers, or there is something happening around which
there's
it's
lot.
like automotive, so we believe that we are the best, but
there's a lot happening. I think what you're now seeing in Saudi Arabia, they're building beautiful convention centers, and they combine that with training the staff to make sure that they're managed correctly. India, there's a really big project going on of building 6 convention centers in one go by one conglomerate.
Wow.
China, you have a new convention center like every month there's one. And we're actually going to Shenzhen World next year for our annual conference. It's 400,000 square meters of convention center. It's the biggest in the world. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they manage that. I think the advantage we have in Europe is that we have the great combination of good convention centers and beautiful destinations. And that's an advantage you need to leverage. But if you look at design, if you look at technology, there are some great examples out there of beautiful buildings.
Yeah. About your growth, actually, of members, I understand that you are a group of friends, as far as I understand from your explanation. But do you want to expand membership? What is the plan? Yeah.
So for the moment, for the first time ever, we have more than 200 members. We have a pipeline, so we want to attract between 5 and 6 new members a year. The thing is, they need to comply with certain quality standards. That's very important. And 2, we don't want to grow for growth. What we want is actually have members who engage, who participate in our activities, who are willing to share information and knowledge, so that as a community we can grow. It would be nice from a cash flow perspective to have like 50 members who simply pay but don't show up. But that's not what we want. We really want to engage with a membership because there's so much we can learn from each other. So we have a growing Chinese membership, for example. They are really interested in, okay, but how do you do international business development? Because they don't have that much experience with that. We are interested in their technology. For example, the Shenzhen World Center, they have 8,000 cameras inside. Right. So how do they use that? What can you use it for? It's really impressive. So that exchange of knowledge for us is really important.
I mean, I would love to know more about what they do with those cameras. And I mean, there are many things that, we see are happening outside of Europe that is really exciting. I know at ICA Congress, the Saudi Arabia representative mentioned they're building 1 million square meters of exhibition space. Creating all these new spaces will create a new set of options and realities also for associations. How do you see the market adapting to all these new spaces?
Yeah, I think it's going to be double. One, yes, there are going to be shifts of existing associations who are going to go to those new places and discover. But I think for me, the positive news is that the entire pie is going to grow. If you look, for example, at Africa, if you look at the projected economic growth over the next 10 years, it's massive. And there is a clear correlation between GDP and events. So what I really believe is that the African market is going to explode. There's going to be far more intercontinental trade needed, and that will result into events, and those events will need places. Saudi Arabia is a beautiful gateway between India and Africa, but also on the continent you see big changes happening. Cape Town Convention Center is a great example of that. They do events all year round. They're full. They're really deep benchmark when it comes to Africa. So for me, yes, there's going to be shifts and movements, but for me the pie, the total number of events is going to grow.
Because one thing that we've seen, especially in Europe, I can say that we see that especially European associations, for the first time ever probably, are in a position where they're trying to find venues that have availability. There are so many events happening. The venues are full.
Yeah, they are.
Where do you see the biggest changes in Europe in this regard?
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is You're absolutely right that the venues are full, they're doing great business. But you should also look at it from a customer perspective. You want to offer that unique experience to your delegates. And I'm now going to speak against my shop, but sometimes that unique experience might not be sitting in a convention center. You might be looking to something else. You might be looking at a museum. You might be looking at a concert hall. And use those spaces to offer that unique experience. On the other hand, what we're seeing, I'm going to give you the example of Toronto, they used to have 500 events a year. They've trimmed that down to 350, consciously, because they had lack of resources. They were not able to deliver the quality they wanted to deliver. They looked at all their events and said, those are the 350 we keep, that's it. Because we need to give quality of life to our staff. And we need to be able to offer quality to our customers. That's how we do it.
Interesting. Is it true that the prices of convention centers are now higher for 60% in comparison with 2019, or this is a lot too much?
It's too much, and you do need to look at the breakdown of prices. I think if you look at the rental prices, yes, there is an increase of between 20 and 30%. I think what they're especially being hit by is the food cost. That has gone up tremendously, but that as a household you would know as well. That's something to take into consideration, and the price of stuff has gone up. But 60% is way too much.
But do you see a shift towards more, I would say, high-tech industry now? So the personnel convention centers are looking for is not anymore about logistics, but it's a high-tech personnel, which you need.
It's on top.
It's on top, man.
And the other thing, so you need data analysts, you need people who manage very complex systems, and they're in competition with the Microsofts and the IBMs of this world, who, to be honest, typically have better pay than convention centers can offer. But next to that, you're sitting with new functions like sustainability officers, which you need to have. But with
specific knowledge, of course, that's true. And the advocacy, I want to ask about that. I mean, I can feel that your association is all about that, which is not always the case with associations. Can you comment this a little bit more and explain the model you have actually? Because it's interesting, I mean, for the audience.
Sure. So advocacy is indeed really, really important, but we don't do that alone. So there we work together with the Joint Meetings Industry Council, JMIC. And so there we have a manifesto. For the first time, we actually have a language saying, this is what events are, this is the importance of events, allowing every player in the field to explain in the same way what the importance is. So that's one very big thing we now realized. And that platform also allows us to go to the European Parliament. It allows us to go to Washington and explain what we do. Now, this being said, it's powerful, but it's underfunded. If you look at the funding we have at JMIC level, it's about 250,000 euros. If you look at the funding that the American Tourism Association has to do just lobbying in Washington, it's $30 million. So we're boxing above our weight, but by collaborating, and that's the strength of this model, by collaborating, we get that unique voice and that unique message, and that we bring to the policymakers.
If we talk about the relationship between the meetings industry and the perceptions that we face, there's always this duality. We bring people that create content, that create change, but of course there's the sustainability element that was always there.
Sure.
But when we talk about making changes, let's say in the sense of how easy it is to do business, how much are you and your members engaged perhaps in more unified, more transparent way of operating from one destination to a destination? Is there a connection between different convention centers from different countries that they would say we all operate with the same way, or is it all down to individual members?
No, it's for example, we at an association level, we have quality standards. And we ask our members to actually comply with those quality standards. If they do, they get a stamp. And that for the customer is really easy. They know that all those members have that stamp. They all comply with this minimum set of quality standards. Next to that, and to your point around collaboration between convention centers, I was talking to Christophe from the Swiss Tech Convention Center yesterday. They're actually going to collaborate with the Cape Town Convention Center and do a joint roadshow in Brussels and in Paris. Because they say, we have both very high sets of quality, we work in the same way, we offer the same systems, it's very different environments, but we will go jointly on the market. And that's something you see more and more, is collaboration between venues from very different locations who believe we're at par in service, and we're at par in terms of size, let's go and conquer the market together.
So kind of competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So we are almost at the end of our conversation. Interesting conversation, I must add. And we usually finish with fire questions to you.
Okay.
Really simple ones. You can, of course, comment more about those. I will ask some, and Jan will add some more, So
Okay.
my first is river or lake?
River.
Why?
Movement.
Okay, cool.
Train or plane?
To be honest, train. Because you feel you're traveling.
Beer or wine?
Oh, that's not honest. I'm from Belgium.
Beer, okay. Thanks for being our guest. Stay tuned. We are coming back in 5 minutes and see you soon.